Hi everyone. So hopefully you've either aware of the Kickstarter or not. I'm going to go into a little bit of depth at the end of this video to explain a bit more what the idea of the monitor project is, because it's not your standard monitor. But this video is to go through using the monitor with Apple II range of computers, the issues you're going to face, and just my experience, because to be fair, my history is with Amiga, so I've not, as you can see, I have a Macintosh, and one of the not really original Macintosh, but I have one of the classic early ones. But I'm really known for developing for the Amiga back in the late 80s and the 90s. So the Apple II, basically the Apple II is the father of the personal computer. I'm aware of that. Came out in 78, 79. I think it was mainly 79. And obviously the Amiga came a lot later. So it's completely different machines. But so hopefully by understanding I'm an Amiga person, then if there's any coloration, there's total respect being given here. But my lack of knowledge. So I've been on a bit of a journey learning about this in the last few days, because it came to me that obviously because we're supporting retro machines, I have a certain amount. If you have looked at the Kickstarter, you'll see a lot of the machines I do have. But again, now I wanted to really dive into the Apple II series. And of course I don't have any. Right. So, right, the first things. Now it goes without saying that this monitor can support Composite. It has two Composite inputs, okay? And they can handle NTSC and PAL, okay? And it also stabilizes, cleans, it does a fantastic job with Composite. But of course with Composite, as I've learned, on the Apple II, things aren't always perfect, so that's what I'm going to go through today. Now, as you can see, I've got these nice shots running over here. This is so basically I went to visit a couple of people, Daniel Henderson and Brenda Selwood, and they very kindly let me have some time so I can go and see their Apple IIs, and so we can test them with the monitor. And there was some good points and bad points, and so I'm going to cover all that today with my findings. Now, remember, I am an Apple II noob. Bear with me on this. I'm probably going to get myself one because it's kind of on that, on the list of the ones you want to get. But anyway, right. So first things first. What I want to do is I'm just going to switch screen now to the images. Right. Let's start off with this. So, first thing, if you're thinking of getting one of my monitors, now they're not your cheap monitor fare, okay? Because it's a smallish production run that we're aiming for. Well, in fact, in the world of monitors, it's a tiny production run. As you know, anything retro stuff is small production run, and this is a complete tooling. Complete tooling project. So the whole exterior is injection molded plastic. Well, it will be, and the interior it's got a steel chassis. You can see by this animation underneath, it has a steel chassis which is powder coated in oyster white, and the whole thing comes in oyster white or black. Okay, so they're the two colours. But they're obviously quite a complex thing to put together. So the price, it's not a cheap monitor. I'm very sorry, but it's just not. But moving forward, the idea was that we wanted to design it so it looks good on your retro equipment. Now, that's one of the reasons for showing you these shots to start with. It looks fantastic on this GS, I have to be honest. Got more pictures, but also it's no point if it doesn't perform well. Now, one thing I have come to the conclusion is the composite on the Apple II range isn't perfect. It does have a few little problems, and you're not going to buy my monitor for composite. Let's be honest. There's much cheaper ways of doing it. But I want you to see the composite and discuss the composite. It might be nice for other people around in different areas to know. But if you're serious about the Apple II range, it's absolutely clear that you want to get yourself one of the cards with a VGA output or an HDMI output or a SCART. In fact, the pictures you've been watching is Daniel's 2GS with a SCART lead. Literally just, it's an adapted lead, comes from the back. There's no electronics. It just plugs into the back, goes into the monitor, and what you can see on the screen up here, there, what you can see up here, that's SCART input. And it looks fantastic. That's because, well, I explain it all at the end of the video, how we have SCART input, as well as many other inputs. So now, first of all, I went to visit Daniel, and again, very kindly, it turned out, God, I'm a football fan. I've been so caught up in this Kickstarter, I completely forgot about the World Cup. And I was going to get there at about 2 o'clock. And he said, "Why are you coming at 2 o'clock? I thought you was a football fan." Why? And he said, "Because the England game." Oh, Jesus. Anyway, so I went there in the morning, and I was really conscious of getting out the door by 1 o'clock, and I did miss the game, sadly. But it was important I go through this process. So, right, let's get some other pictures up. So this is a couple of pictures. This is one of his. I think this is a 2E Platinum. No, I don't know. It's an Apple IIe. He's got a couple of lovely ones. So this is just showing what it looks like sitting on it. Okay, but we're going to get to some interesting points in a second. This is an Apple IIe, and it's got composite. But it's a PAL Euro. I think it's a Euro Plus, but it's a Euro. Anything that's got PAL, the composite doesn't work with colour. And whilst the monitor will give a nice sharp image, okay, it loses the colour information because it's not in the it's not coming down through the lead. So Apple IIs do seem to have a problem. Now this is with PAL, not NTSC. Obviously the PAL versions were modified. So, but colour, composite, PAL on PAL Apple IIs, Euro Apple IIs you don't want to do it. Okay, you just don't. Ideally, what you want is to do the RGB route. So you go in either the VGA output or your HDMI output, or I'm not sure if you can do a SCART, but you can do VGA, and you can see a couple of pictures. In fact, I'll show you if I scroll down another one. So this is his machine. Oh no, I apologise. That's Brenda's has got VGA output. You can see it says PAL, BNC PAL. So that's going in composite in PAL. The anything that's like black and white looks great. It's nice and sharp, but obviously the problem with it is it tries to bleed in colour. So it might be worth turning the colours down for this, and then just literally see that in black and white. But yeah, so you're not buying the monitor for the composite. Now, remember that's the Euro PAL versions, okay? I've got another one here, I think. This is more of a shot to show you it looks nice. Now, actually, to be honest with this, the monitors look great on it, but I would take the stand off if you was going to put it onto here. I think it would look actually really nice without the stand. But that's kind of a classic look. But I think with the stand off, it looks absolutely brilliant. And in fact, it's a nice depth because it's just the right depth to sit on that back, which was really handy. Right, now moving on from the two E's, from Daniel's, that is, we come to Daniel's This is, excuse the shot, it was kind of, we was just like plugging wires. Now we connected up, this is the composite out of an NTSC 2GS. Okay, so as you can see, it looks good. I've always thought it was kind of odd because the way it kind of mixes the colours a bit, but this is apparently is normal with Apple IIs. But yeah, it's nice and sharp. Now this is I think it's a 160/120 layout, so it's kind of a scaled up thing. But it was nice. It was in colour. He was well. Hopefully he'll comment, but he seemed really pleased with that. Whereas I was kind of looking at the colour mixing a little bit with the text. If you see the colours in between, but as I said, that seems to be just an Apple thing. So yeah, composite on NTSC machines. You're going to see this theme. If you've got an NTSC, a true NTSC machine, right? You'll find this out later on. Then you should be fine with composite on here. It's only if you've got a PAL Euro one that you're going to have a problem. Okay, so we then switched over to, we thought, oh, let's try the SCART. And as you can see, it's starting to look really nice. Bit of text. So you can see it's starting to look really nice. It really looks nice with SCART. And there's another one with window open. Yeah, so and this is just a lead. So a SCART lead adapter that goes into the back of the GS on its its RGB output, converts to SCART, puts it in and straight into the back of our monitor. Okay. And then of course I thought, well, let's just put it all together and do a nice shot. So I think you can see the monitor works great. Now, if you see the black bar down the left-hand side, that's because I hadn't auto synced it. If you look at this one, you can see it's pulled in because I did the auto configure on the panel. Whereas this one, I didn't reset itself, and so you got that black border down the left-hand side. So that's the 2GS. That's Daniel's collection. So again, thanks to Daniel Henderson. Sorry, I know it's Daniel, not Dan. So Daniel Henderson from the Apple Facebook group, and that was absolutely fantastic that he took the time to let me go along and see. Now, 2 days later, was it the next day? I'm losing track of time. I thought today was Friday, and it's not. It's Thursday. I went to see Brenda. Brenda Selwood from the same group. She offered to do exactly the same thing, but this is an interesting one. And she said she's got an NTSC Apple II, and the next picture you're going to see, I'm going to give you the story first. So I thought this would be great because I'll put the Apple II in, turn it on, and we go ping, and it all comes up in colour. But it didn't. It came up like this. Now you can see this is an NTSC. On the motherboard, it's actually got written NTSC, but it's a 50 Hertz NTSC. So I'm assuming it's a version that was meant, but it's NTSC. So basically what was happening, you can see that the monitor thinks it's PAL. This is what, it's just not working in composite. It will not give out a color signal again. It's acting like a PAL signal, but the monitor, you can see the little blue bar at the bottom. When it disappears, it would kind of flash as if it's freaking out, and then it would come back up again. And so it was really confused. So if you've got one of those NTSC 50s, I'm pretty sure you're going to not have a good experience. Please don't buy it for that. Get yourself a VGA adapter board, put it in, it looked fantastic. Okay, but that was an interesting one. That was actually the one I went to see, but it was a great learning experience. If you've got an NTSC one that's 50 Hertz, your composite's not going to work too well, so you really want an RGB converter board. Right, if I scroll down now, completely different thing. Sticking a Brenda had a VGA card, outputting card, and as you can see, absolutely spot on. It's hard to read that, but it's actually, the monitor's gone into VGA 640 by 480 60 Hertz, perfect. So it's absolutely displaying it fine. Obviously the monitors can do 50 Hertz, 60 Hertz, PAL, NTSC, you can do all the different. In fact, I doubt you'll find a monitor that can do as much as this with the extra board, which I'll explain later. So that was really good. That's her. You can see the first picture. She had she's got a problem with the key switch. As you can see, it's got a key in there. And this one is missing. So, but yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but hopefully she gets that fixed because it's a lovely machine. Right, let's scroll down now. Right, the next one on the list this is the Apple IIc NTSC composite output. As you can see in the blue bar at the bottom, it's saying it's BNC composite and it's saying NTSC. So that displays absolutely beautifully. And so you're getting this great composite signal. Now, so my gut feeling is, as long as you've got an NTSC, now it is I am coming to the understanding by talking to a lot of people that this is known, that the Apple IIs had a problem with the color information on their PAL Euro composites. Okay, I need a composite, right? Because I know that everyone's been saying the same thing. Basically, they were meant to have a monitor, so it wouldn't have been an issue. But of course, if you're using the composite output, now this has a composite output, it's a low cost, and it looks fantastic. But just make sure NTSC 60 Hertz, not 50. NTSC 60 Hertz, and you'll be fine. Okay, so what we got here? Yeah, so that's her 2C. Now we come on to her 2GS. Now this is an NTSC. Now we had an interesting one with this. We're coming out composite again. This is composite, as you can see. It says BNC, NTSC. But what it was really funny, because when we turned this on, it was switched to 50. It was coming up PAL again, right? Now, but it was, I'm not sure, it was in a pre-boot sequence. You could switch from 60 to 50 Hertz on the board, control the board, and it was in 50 by default. So as soon as we switched it to 60, this monitor just went, oh right, it's 60, it's NTSC, that's fine. But if it's running at 50 Hertz, it goes, okay, it's PAL. Do you see? That's the issue. So make sure you got it switched to 60 Hertz, and the monitor can just snap straight to it. Sorry, that might have been a bit loud. The monitor can just snap straight to it, and you'll get a great display. So now here's another shot just to show that again. It's composite. If you can read at the bottom, it says BNC1. Again, there's two composite inputs. So that's that. And actually we've got another. Oh, she had another 2C. Of course she did. Yeah. So again, composite. Right. So that's Brenda's machines and Daniel's. What I want to do now is I'm going to go through what's special about the monitor. So you're probably watching this video down here, and you can see it's basically, the idea is it's got pods. You can see those plugins at the back. So it's a lot of the, let's be honest, about a quarter to a third of the cost is because of this custom design. The panels are very expensive as well, but there's a custom design. It pushes the price up, low volume. That's why it's not a cheap monitor. But you see at the back it's got this pods. So the bottom one you just saw go in there, that's the default. But I'm going to just now load up a couple of pictures so you can see. Right, so this is the back of the monitor. Right at the bottom section, can you see the... No, you can't. So the bottom pod, that's the main one. That's what comes with every single monitor. And at the bottom, what you have is, from the left, you have the power. Then you have HDMI, you have VGA input, you have 3 BNC. So 2 of those BNCs are composite in, and the third one is a composite through. So whatever's displayed on composite will go out through the composite. So you can switch between those 2 composites and then stream. And then you have the stereo jack for the VGA, and then there's a USB. Now above that, going from the left, you have component. Now it's important to understand this component is interlace only. It's meant for video, so it's meant to have interlaced video, full frame. So no 240p, 256. Okay, it's very important to understand that. However, on the right of that, you have the 2 yellow ones, which are 2 composite ins. They're basically duplicates of the ones below. We've just made it so you can put phonos rather than having to do adapters. And in the middle of them 2 is the stereo audio input, and that's across that AV section. Okay, all the audio visuals share that same AV input. So that's the basics. Now the 2 composite inputs can handle interlace, non-interlace. It can do. It's basically just a normal composite, but it also stabilizes. So if you've got something like an Amiga display with an interlace and it's flickering the screen, it stabilizes it, gives it an absolutely beautiful. I don't want to put that. I mean, you'll see if you look at the Kickstarter, scroll down. There's one all about the flicker, and it shows you I mean, this is what ruined my eyes. Why I have to wear glasses. That I was always in interlace on desktop publishing, that kind of thing, and video work, and so it stabilizes it. So that's the main pod there. Now the one above it is an option. It's a relatively inexpensive option, to be fair, but this has another component. As you can see, why have we got two components? Well, this component is interlace and non-interlace, so you can run your 240p, 256p games on it, and it will look fantastic. And on the right of that, you'll see the now on the left it's got what looks like a VGA, but that's actually for arcade boards. But to the right of that, you see you've got that SCART input. Now that's an RGB SCART input, so that's what I plugged the GS into. We're straight into there, and above that is something. Now this is where our custom board comes in, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. The custom board comes in, which is EGA, CGA, and EGA compatible. At the top, well, in fact, let me show you a picture of that. Let's go on to here. So as you can see, this is the board inside. Now this is. This is pretty much production. It may change into something different, but it'll have the same functionality. So the board on the right, if you're looking at the top one on the right, is called a GS 8200. It's well known in the arcade area because you can plug arcade machines in and then put it on a panel. It's not the best. I mean, it works well, but it's not the best conversion ever. There are better if you want to spend the money. However, the board on the left at the top has got a little plug-in module, you'll see, which is called GBS Control, and it's a replacement firmware for the board on the right. And what that does is supercharge it, transforms it, cleans up all the image, does so much, and it adds all extra features, scaling, it can scale, do this, you can put your scan lines in, it's so much it can do, downscaling, and there's also it has a web server built onto it, so with a tablet or your computer at home, you can connect to it, and in a web page you can modify everything, save profiles. I mean, it's absolutely amazing piece of upgrade, and it is brilliant. Now, also, if you'll notice on that board, there's some extra chips. That's the CGA and EGA stuff that Apple's done, and this is our specific custom. You won't get this on any other boards. You'd have to go out and buy. There is a CGA EGA board out there for around £100 something, but that only does CGA and EGA. Whereas ours has got that and RGB and everything else that comes with it, and it's also got the brown fix for those in the know that you've got a switch on the back for the brown fix. So yeah, it's quite a good machine. Now the third pod was this. Now basically what this is, it's the Mister. It's actually a D10 Nano. It's the Mister project. So basically it's an FPGA system. I haven't got time to go into what it does, but basically it turns this monitor into an all-in-one computer that can simulate nearly all retro computers, consoles, etc., and arcade machines. I haven't got time to go into this yet because it's just a huge subject on its own. But if you put that in, you transform this into the ultimate retro machine. It literally becomes the ultimate retro machine. The D10s there, but you're adding about £300 roughly. If you've got what you saw in that previous picture was what's known as the stack. That takes the full stack, and you drop that into the monitor. It sits up the top here, and you'll notice it's got a power button. Now again, this is a prototype. It's going to be tidied up, and they're going to be made out of metal. They're actually 3D printed, you can tell, because it's got a bit of a curve on it. That's just my printer. It does that sometimes. So this is prototyping, but they will be steel go into there. But there's a power switch on it, and so you can isolate them if you're not using it at that particular point in time. And if you are, then you switch over, and this comes through the HDMI port, and this is what you can see. What on the subject of the monitor, it's I suppose important to understand. One of the things you'll notice, there was only one HDMI input. We are working on a multiple internal. It'll be a small increase in price because it's a plug-in board, and it'll allow you to have. At the moment, it's looking like it's either 3 or 5 HDMI inputs and one out that goes internally, so you can plug in lots of HDMI devices. And again, the rest of it's a prototype. You can see it's a prototype. That button doesn't work. I mean, the final one is designed, but these two work so well. I didn't bother spending another £1,000 making another prototype case. And if anyone asks, if you're wondering, these cases are actually 3D printed, but they're done on a really high specification industrial 3D printer, so they actually look like they're injection molded. They really do look fantastic, but you couldn't use that for day-to-day work. You have to do it with injection molding. So hopefully, let me put back your Apple picture. Hopefully this has answered any questions you have. If there's any more, contact me through the Kickstarter. The link, as you can see at the bottom, you won't be able to click the link, but there's a QR code above here. In the description there'll be a link to the project, and there are stretch goals. We're hoping to make the basic Kickstarter is without that stand, and then there's a solid stand. There's a few because basically the more money we can get, the more we've got for making more tooling to make more parts. You will find in the Kickstarter at the bottom there is a pie chart, and it literally explains how the cost is used, what the money's for. So it's important to understand, and I have smacked at the top, that when you see the price on the Kickstarter, which is £269, does not include the panel. Okay, the panel comes later. Now at the moment, the default panel that you're looking at here is coming in at £130, so you got $399 for the complete monitor plus VAT and shipping. I hope that for a lot of people out there, they can see what it's about. It looks great, the display is great, the functionality is great. You can plug any of your old computers into it, and there will be more options coming. So one of the things, because it's modular, we want to do plug-in boards, so you can for sync-on greens. So if you've got something like, for example, a Next, or if you've got an SGI, or if you've got some of these really high-end kind of machines, you can use this monitor up to 1280 by 1024 60 hertz, because that's what this panel is. Oh, one other thing was, because the panel is not included in the Kickstarter 269, the reason for that is this: if the Kickstarter is a success, then I'm going to go and look for I want 3 panel options: a low cost one that still gives good quality, this default panel, which I think is brilliant, and this is the one I actually really like, and then we're going to go hunting for a specialist one that's even lower, like a really low latency, one that's maybe a 1600 by 1200, maybe, unlikely, but maybe if the planets align, maybe an OLED, but don't hold your hopes on that, and you will have to sell a kidney. But maybe, that's going to be the supercharged panel, but that would be really expensive. But my feeling is that this panel is probably perfect for most users. But if you are interested, go and look at the Kickstarter. There's a ton of information, a lot more information, and you'll get used to me with the videos. Hopefully that I'm passionate about it, and I do talk a bit more than I probably should. I should edit a bit more. But anyway, thanks very much. If you've got this far, well done, thank you. And I'll speak to you soon. Hi, welcome to my third Kickstarter. Some of you will remember me from my Amiga days when I was a developer in the late 80s. And just recently I decided to make a couple of nice cases, which were my first 2 Kickstarters. But basically I'm just a computer nerd, and so I have lots of computers, old, some new, mostly old. And I wanted to design a monitor that answers a lot of the problems that there are with retro computers. Firstly, the design. It needs to look good sitting on your computer. You don't want a modern widescreen, you want a nice 4:3 or 5:4 aspect monitor to sit there and to be designed sympathetically to these old computers. Next is latency. Latency of displays is very important if you're a games player, or just generally you want it to react, the display to react as quickly as your mouse moves. Finally, most importantly, inputs. There's an awful lot of historical inputs that are no longer available on modern monitors. RGB SCART, Composite, EGA, CGA, all these type of inputs. So what we're trying to do is resolve this with this monitor and give you all the inputs that you need and take it further. But one more thing it can do, it also can be built as an all-in-one computer. So you can build a self-contained computer with a keyboard, put it in a carry bag, take it away. Finally, I'm now full-time on this project since the last 2 successful Kickstarters. And so I'm passionate about making great products for people. And if you look at my old Kickstarters, you can see that people are equally passionate about them. I intend making the best monitor I possibly can and give you the best product I'm capable of giving you. And I hope, now I'm doing this full time, you'll back me on the rest of the journey. Thank you.